A soldier, a rock star, a rebel, and a phantom. Cyberpunk 2077 surprised everyone when it announced that players would be accompanied by the electronic specter of a man named Johnny Silverhand, played by actor Keanu Reeves. The character is one that is not new to the Cyberpunk universe. Silverhand's appearances in the tabletop RPG date back to its earliest publications, but his youthful visage certainly was a shock. Considering the timeline of the Cyberpunk universe, Silverhand should be pushing a century or more old. This has left players wondering who or what exactly is Johnny Silverhand. Before we get started, if you enjoy what you're seeing, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more in the future. And if you really want to do me a solid, ring the bell so you're notified every time I upload. Hey, we all gotta game the system. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. Johnny Silverhand was born Robert John Under, though we do not know exactly when or where other than the United States. In fact, not much is known about his early life other than that he was a soldier in the United States Marine Corps. In the alternative timeline presented in Cyberpunk, the metaphorical American war on drugs, which began in the 70s and 80s, turned into a literal one in the 1990s, when the United States used the violent actions of various drug cartels as an excuse to launch military action into Central and South America. The Drug Enforcement Administration also bioengineered floral plagues that targeted cocoa and opium plants, effectively destroying 98% of the world's crops and collapsing several South and Central American governments propped up by the drug economy. Ironically, this made the drug trade worse in America, as it prompted a new cartel, the Golden Triangle based out of China, to develop new synthetic crops and drugs immune to the plagues, and opened up new black markets across North America and Europe. During the South and Central American Wars, Robert Under enlisted in the U.S. Army, serving as a Marine in the Third Nicaraguan conflict. He quickly became disillusioned by the military, the government, and by the war, eventually deserting. The Army thought he had been killed during the conflict and listed him as missing in action. Under didn't mind, preferring to let the government think that he was dead, and changed his name to Johnny Silverhand. He got the new surname from his cybernetic arm. Though it is possible to wear your implants in a way that hides their mechanical nature, Johnny preferred to wear his arm uncovered and had it plated in shining metal chrome. Silverhand was what was known as a Rockerboy in the Cyberpunk universe. Mechanically, this is a character class, but in universe, it is a social movement with roots in punk rock. In the early 1990s, the musician James Rockerboy Manson released his second album, Bum's Rush, with lyrics full of overtly political themes centered on change, disdain for authority, and rebellion against the establishment. This message eventually got Manson killed when he was beaten to death in 1997 by British police in front of an audience at an Amnesty International concert. Manson became a martyr, the Rockerboy movement spurred by his death, and Silverhand carried on Manson's legacy with his own music. By the year 2020, Johnny Silverhand would be the most popular rocker boy on the planet. After deserting the military and starting his new life inspired by Manson, Silverhand co-founded a new punk rock band called Samurai, where he provided vocals and guitar. His bandmates included another former soldier named Carrie Uridine, also on vocals and guitar, Denny the drummer, Nancy the keyboardist, and Henry the bassist. Samurai were discovered in 2003 by Jack Masters, an executive at Universal Music, who happened to see them perform in a backstreet bar called the Rainbow Cadenza in Night City. Masters signed the band as soon as he could after hearing them, and just 3 weeks after signing, Samurai's first single, Blistering Love, hit #1 on the Euro charts. The band became one of the most successful musical acts in the world over the next 5 years. However, things quickly changed for Samurai in 2008, when Nancy threw her abusive husband from a window in their 83rd floor apartment, killing him. The rest of the band firmly supported Nancy during her 7-month prison sentence, but the lull saw each member explore different creative directions. When Nancy was released, they agreed it would be best to break up and explore these different paths. Henry worked in cybernetics, eventually frying his brain in an unfortunate accident, while Nancy took the name Bess Issy and became a major media influencer. The rest remained in music, with Denny joining a band called Mastermind, and both Johnny and Carrie pursuing their own solo careers. Both found incredible success as solo artists, but maintained a deep friendship, often touring together as co-headliners. Despite the breakup, Samurai, their logo, and the message of their music lived on and became symbols for various disenfranchised groups, remaining popular worldwide almost 70 years later. After the split, the music label DMS aggressively pursued Silverhand, hoping to sign him to their label by any means necessary. This included threats of violence and blackmail. DMS dug up information about Johnny's former life as Robert Under, discovering his desertion from the US Marine Corps while serving in South America. Silverhand refused to give in to the label's blackmail, and instead went public with the information himself. He signed with Universal Music, releasing his first solo album, Sins of Your Brothers, in 2009. He used the album's lyrics to explain his actions, describing the government's lies, sharing the realities of the wars, and exposing the experimental cybernetics programs many soldiers were forced to endure. The album proved more successful than anyone expected, with listeners connecting to its powerful message. The album single-handedly led to increased awareness and support for veterans of the Central and South American wars, and solidified Silverhand's place at the head of the Rockerboy movement. It was even able to push through into mainstream music culture, despite the pro-corporate and pro-government media trying to drown out Rockerboy artists. Silverhand's song Never Fade Away, originally written and performed while Samurai was together, was chosen as the #1 song by Rockerboy magazine in 2020. The title was so influential that it still saw frequent airtime and sales by the year 2077, though many believe that Silverhand's later work was never able to live up to the bar he set with Sins of Your Brothers. At some point, Silverhand began dating a woman named Cunningham. Alt was a netrunner, or a cybernetics hacker, and also one of the most gifted programmers and coders on the planet. Her magnum opus was a program called Soul Killer, which could create digital copies of a brain, essentially backing up a mind and consciousness. Cunningham had not intended to create Soul Killer. She was working on a matrix to hold artificial personalities, but it allowed for the storage of real personalities too. In 2012, Alt was kidnapped by agents of the Arasaka Corporation while leaving a concert with Silverhand, and forced to work on a new version of Soul Killer. This one would simultaneously fry the mind of whomever it was backing up, destroying their physical brain and killing their physical body. Silverhand worked tirelessly to rescue Cunningham, unaware that she had her own plan to escape. Johnny hired several mercenaries to back him up and put on an impromptu concert across the street from Arasaka Towers in Night City on April 16, 2013. Silverhand eventually led the crowds towards Arasaka's headquarters, causing several twitchy guards to open fire on the crowd. This sparked a riot that killed 18 people, but created an opening for Silverhand and his team to slip into Arasaka. For her part, Cunningham stole €20 million from Arasaka, used the new Soul Killer to fry the netrunners guarding her, and hacked executive defense systems to aid in her escape. Cunningham's plan would have worked if Silverhand had not launched his own plan that same night. The distraction caused by Johnny and his team resulted in Alt losing control of the Soul Killer, which attacked and killed her. Silverhand was able to recover her body, but was unaware that his interference left her consciousness trapped on the Arasaka network, a ghost in the machine. For the next 10 years, Silverhand believed Cunningham to be dead and gone. He tried to move on, having several flings, including with Rogue, one of the mercenaries he'd hired to help rescue Alt. However, Cunningham was not gone. On Arasaka's network, she was able to destroy the original version of the Soul Killer that she had been forced to create, but the company kept pouring resources into the project. Eventually, Arasaka was able to recapture Alt's consciousness and force her to develop a more powerful, mobile, and intelligent version of Soul Killer. The company's ruthless deployment of this Soul Killer version 3.0 during the Fourth Corporate War, in addition to their other actions during the conflict, made for strange bedfellows with their rivals. As they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. In the early 2020s, the United States government put together a team to infiltrate Arasaka's headquarters and destroy their servers with an explosive payload to eliminate the Soul Killer, and they recruited Johnny Silverhand for the mission. This group launched their attack on the Arasaka Towers on August 30th, 2023, roughly a decade after Silverhand's original assault on the building. During the raid, the team discovered that Alt's consciousness was still alive on Arasaka's servers, and Silverhand became desperate to rescue her. Johnny was killed while distracting the robotic mercenary Atom Smasher, shot clean in half by the Borg's high-powered shotgun. His distraction allowed for his squad mates to free Alt, and though the cost of the mission was high, most of the team sent into the Arasaka Towers did not leave. It was a success. The explosive payload, a low-powered nuclear bomb, was detonated within Arasaka's headquarters, destroying the towers and killing more than 500,000 people in Night City. It's not entirely clear what became of Alt Cunningham, but it is believed that she may have been freed during the raid and escaped onto the net. Despite his death in 2023, some form of Johnny Silverhand survived until 2077, where his holographic apparition visits V, a character who wears a jacket bearing the name and logo of Johnny's band. It's unclear exactly how Johnny's been able to make his return, and the answer to that question will undoubtedly play a significant part in the storyline of Cyberpunk 2077. His appearance does match descriptions given for the consciousnesses backed up by the Soul Killer, so perhaps Silverhand had his mind backed up before that assault on the Arasaka Towers. Or maybe even during it. I will absolutely be exploring the answers to those questions when Cyberpunk 2077 eventually comes out. Hopefully this year? We'll see. Make sure you subscribe so you see my videos about that when the game does come out. And hey, while you're down there, if you enjoyed this, why not leave a like and comment about what other questions about Cyberpunk that you want answered. Believe me, I have a lot of plans to explore this universe. This has to be my most anticipated game right now. I cannot wait for it. And hey, also remember to ring the bell so you don't miss a single upload. I hate that I have to beg you to do that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.